Okay, this screencast is about entity relationship diagrams, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw a entity relationship diagram in Lucidchart for the system that you've been given. So the system that needs to store information about the computers in a computer lab at the university. So let's look in our more shapes. We haven't got a entity relationship diagram thing here yet, so let's go into entity relationship in more shapes and save that. Now you can see it hasn't actually got a lot of shapes. We're just going to use the simplest shape over here as our entities, and if you think about it, probably the things that might be included in a model would be a computer and a lab. You probably don't need to record the information about the university because there's only one university. So let's look at dragging across a couple of entities. Here's our entities. Our first one is going to be called computer. Notice that we name our entities with all capital letters. And our second entity is going to be called lab. Now, fields are also attributes. So let's think about the fields that we might want to store about a particular computer. So the sort of things that we might store are things like a computer ID or a computer barcode. We might want to put something like the processor. We might want to include the size of the hard drive, and so on. And if we wanted to, we could add a lot more fields here. You can see you can just add them there or reduce them there. So we could add a whole heap more of these attributes here. For the lab, we will probably need a room number, and maybe a building number. We might want to know the capacity, so how many computers will be able to fit in that lab. We might want to have something, oops, we might want to have something like the network capability, etc. So we can write down whatever attributes we want on that, on the lab type of entity. Now we're going to relate these two together. So to do that, we need to draw a connection between them, the relationship line, and then we would need to think about how they relate together. Okay, so let's do that. So you can see that with each of these, if we mouse over it, the same as the other diagrams and models that we've done, they turn into like a red dot, and you can just drag it across. Now can you see that as I do that, it's setting up a crow's feet line. Okay, now it will just automatically set it up as a one-to-many. You can look up the top, you can see the two ends of the line are here, and it's up to you to actually set these correctly. So don't just leave it as it is. So how we set them is that we say each entity, so each computer, is situated in how many labs? Well, it's either situated in no lab, because if it's ready to be assigned, or it's situated in one lab. So the end of this end, computer to lab, needs to be 0 or 1. So it's an optional relationship, or maximum of 1. Okay, now let's look at the lab. So each lab can have none, one, or many computers in it. So this end of the relationship line, which is up here, will be 0 to many. Okay, so if you just use the little arrows up and down to get around it. And you can see that now you've got the beginnings of an entity relationship diagram. If you wanted to connect department to this as an extension to this, then you might say that each computer is owned by a particular department of the university. So you might have department, and then you'd have a number of different fields here, and then you would connect these two. Oops, that was silly. Okay, and then you could say each department has no computers, or one computer or many computers. So this end of the line will be 0 to many. And then each computer is owned by one and only one department. So why is our one and only one? Okay, so you can see how you can start building up an entity relationship diagram. Now, the only other thing that it says in there is that we need to think about the attributes that might act as a key for each entity, and include those attributes on your entity relationship diagram. Well, if we look at computer, we've actually added in something here, computer ID, that could be used as a primary key. Now, we can put this in a couple of different ways. We can just say PK there, that would be fine. Or we can use, as you can see, one of these entities which have keys next to them. So if I wanted to do it this way, I could have used this type of entity, and then what I do with the key is use PK for primary key, and then computer ID, and then I just delete those that are not keys. Okay, so I would put the other information in there, processor and hard drive size, and whatever other information we wanted to include in that. Okay, so two different ways of doing the entities. They both join up the same as each other. So that's fairly clear. Now, I will cover how to handle a many-to-many relationship in the next screencast.